Welcome back to English Stories Unleashed, the place where powerful real-life stories help you learn English naturally. Every story you hear here strengthens your listening, builds your vocabulary, and teaches you how English is used in real conversations. Today's story is emotional, inspiring, and very human. It is about the courage to start over, the challenges of living in a new country, and the mistake that changed everything. Let's begin. When the plane landed, the sky outside was gray. Not the warm golden sunsets of my home, but a cold, metallic sky that felt unfamiliar and distant. I stepped out of the airport with a single backpack, a heavy heart, and English that came only in slow, careful sentences. The city around me felt fast cars rushing, people walking quickly, conversations blending into a blur of sounds I couldn't understand. That evening, I stood by my small rented room window, looking at the faint light of the city. Can I survive here? The question echoed in my mind. A few days later, after endless applications, I finally got a job at a small corner cafe, Harris & Sons Coffee House. It smelled like roasted beans, fresh pastries, and soft music. It felt warm, almost like a tiny safe island in a cold ocean. Mr. Harris, the owner, was a man in his 50s with sharp eyes and a quiet voice. He told me 3 rules: work hard, be honest, never be late. I nodded. I understood maybe 80% of his words, but his tone, firm but kind, told me the rest. My job was simple: wipe tables, clean cups, take orders. But simple is not simple when the language around you moves faster than your brain. One woman said, "Can I get a cappuccino extra dry, extra foam, 1 pump vanilla?" I heard, "Cappuccino." "Vanilla," a man said. "Do you have almond croissants fresh or yesterday's?" I only heard, "Croissant?" Sometimes I smiled. Sometimes I apologized. Sometimes I just prayed the customer would point at the menu. Every night after work, I wrote down new words: foam, dry, fresh, pump, refill, bill, napkin, takeaway. My notebook became my lifeline. On the 5th day, the sky was heavy with clouds. Rain tapped against the windows, making the cafe feel cozy. But busy, very, very busy. People came in dripping wet, ordering quickly, talking fast. Then he arrived. A tall man in a black coat, shaking water off his umbrella. He came to the counter, glanced at his watch, and said, "Hot chocolate, extra foam, no sugar." And definitely no cinnamon. But the cafe was loud, the rain was loud, and his voice was fast. What I heard was, hot chocolate, cinnamon. So I made it, perfectly, with cinnamon sprinkled beautifully on top. I placed it in front of him proudly. He took 1 sip, stopped, looked at me slowly as if time froze. "There is cinnamon," he said, not angry, not shouting, just disappointed, and somehow that cut deeper. I apologized. My voice shook, my hands trembled. I tried to explain, but the words in my head and the words in my mouth were not the same. He left quietly, but the silence he left behind felt loud. After he left, I stood behind the counter feeling small, smaller than I had ever felt in my life. The fear came back, the fear from the airport, the fear from the first night by the window. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I can't live in this country. Maybe I should go home. I fought tears, but one slipped out anyway. That's when Mr. Harris walked over. I waited for him to say the words, "You're fired." Instead, he said something else. He spoke softly. "You made a mistake. But mistakes mean you're trying. And trying means you're learning." I looked at him, confused. He continued, "This country, this language is new to you. Courage isn't about being perfect. It's about standing up again after you fall." His words warmed me more than any cup of coffee ever had. From that day on, I changed. I asked customers to repeat slowly. I wrote down difficult phrases. I practiced pronunciation during breaks. I listened to English podcasts on the bus. I watched customers' lips when they spoke. I even practiced taking imaginary orders in the mirror. Day by day, something magical happened. English started to make sense. Words became clearer, Sentences became familiar. Sounds became stories. My confidence grew. Customers noticed. Some even encouraged me. One woman said, "You're getting better every day." And I smiled a real smile. Today, I walk into that same cafe not as a scared newcomer, but as the cafe manager. I train new employees. I help others who struggle with English. I share the story of the cinnamon mistake with a laugh, because now I understand. That mistake wasn't a failure. It was the beginning, the moment that pushed me forward. The moment that taught me courage. The moment that shaped who I am today. Thank you for listening to English Stories Unleashed. If this story touched your heart or helped your English, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, your mistakes don't define you. Your courage does. Keep learning. Keep growing. One story at a time.